Well, welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Taylor, Blaine Arsenault, Mike McMillan, and Marshall Leffner. Hey, baseball is here. Road to Sulphur has begun. We're entering week 2 of prep baseball. Why not? We bring around the diamond, bring a full house, full panel tonight. Let's talk some high school baseball as we get you ready for the road to Sulphur. Go ahead and introduce the panel at this time. We'll start down at my bottom and we're going to talk about the North Shore Prep Report at this time, my friend.
Yeah, Jordan, I appreciate you having us on, man. North Shore Prep Report, we hit a year today, so I appreciate you letting us come on today. But started this thing a year ago, covering 7 baseball teams in our area, and it's turned into something unimaginable for me. But we've got a great area, great coaches, great communities, and kids. So it's our pleasure to people would call it a job, but we're blessed to be able to do this for sure.
Congratulations and continued success, my friend. We go down to our bottom right.
Marshall Leffler, 446 Sports and the Red River Roundup. We've been working really hard to preview the baseball teams in our area in Central Louisiana this spring. So we're excited. There's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players that are returning, and a lot of programs that feel like they're going to be a factor once Sulphur becomes part of the conversation. So we're excited for spring.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Marshall. And we go to right on side me, Mr. Blaine Arsenault. Your idea. We're here. Let's get it going. What's going on, my man?
Yeah, Blaine Arsenault, Full Count Baseball Podcast. I started this like last year, just trying to interview coaches, try to shine a spotlight on their program, stuff like that. Hopefully I can get to the North Shore. I haven't got there yet, but get there soon and just ready to talk some baseball.
Ready to talk some baseball indeed. As we do enter into week number 2. Mike, I got to start with you, my man. After one full week, what has really stood out to you from your area?
Well, we had some really exceptional baseball last year. We in 5A, North Shore and Slidell made some big runs. We had Hannon and Pope John Paul that were in semifinal games. So the area's really taken off. The area in whole has really produced a lot of talent over the last, 10, 15 years and even beyond that. But, to be able to highlight it and expand on it has been great. First 2 weeks has shaped out a lot like you would expect. A lot of area teams playing each other, right? So, I say as North Shore Prep Report, I hate when our teams play each other because we can only go 1-1 on the day, in a game. But, we've matched up with some tremendous opponents. We cover a little bit of that Southeast New Orleans area as well. So, Brother Martin and John Curtis have played a good bit of our teams. We've seen Rummel and some of those guys in the Catholic League. And then look, I have to say this too, the river parishes between Destrehan and Hahnville, they've got some really talented teams this year. But so far, the biggest outlier has been North Shore and Mandeville. Those are 2 really, really talented teams that have been kind of highly ranked. They played tonight. Mandeville gets the win. I believe it's 4-0. Sam Mars, who's a Southeastern commit as a pitcher, I think he pitched 6 2/3 innings, no run baseball. North Shore is about as deep as a team as I've seen on the North Shore in quite a while, from pitching and at the plate. There's some kids who I think very highly of who might not see a lot of time this year, and that's a testament to when you're building a program like that. So the things that have you thought were going to happen going into the season, they're there. The big time players, Caden Amy, he's a UNO commit at Pope John Paul. He pitched a second game tonight. Another one hitter, a win. There's lots of those things going on. I've got my eyes on some teams that I think I won't say will surprise people in our area, but will surprise people around the state. Fountain Blues lost a couple really close games recently, but they've got probably the most young talent around. Tanner Conley, Sawyer Shane, those are both sophomores, top 5, top 10 ranked kids in the 2028 class. They've got a 2029 and Aiden Easley, who's absolutely phenomenal. And they've got a senior class that's really good with a couple of juniors to sprinkle in. So, that's a really talented team. And look, I've got to say this, we talk a lot about that core area of Mandeville and St. Tammany, but you move over to the Springfield area and Doyle and those folks, they've got some really talented team. Franklinton's got some talent this year as well that can make some runs. And then, like I said, you've got everything in the Catholic League that always is going to give everybody some trouble in Division I Select, and then the River Parishes, which I'm loyal to, being a River Parish guy. It's hard for me to root against those guys anytime.
There you go. Mr. Marshall, take us to the Cenla area. What's really jumped off the page to you here out the gate?
So I think what's some of the teams that we thought would be contenders right off the bat have shown that. Ash had a really good statement game against Houghton at Northwestern State on their campus. I mean, that was kind of a really big opening day opportunity for them. It was kind of interesting to see the two pitchers, or two of the pitchers, Clayton Doyle and Jack Lee, that are expected to be, kind of just ace level guys. Jack Lee's got a ton of preseason attention around the state. He had a good outing in relief, had about 3 innings, got a save there against Houghton. So Ash is 3-0. They were able to win a doubleheader over St. Fred's as well. The Hicks Pirates, who are a perennial powerhouse in Class B, they're 3-0, 43-0 through 3 games. They've been in double digits every single game. Another team that's done that, Gina, they've had double-digit runs in every game. They're 4-0. And so kind of right there you see the spectrum of Cenla baseball. I mentioned a 5A team, a Class B team, and a 3A team. Grace is another school that's 3-0. So, but not even besides teams that are undefeated in this early season, just kind of the broad spectrum of teams that expect to contend. There's probably 10 to 12 just in a few parishes that you could legitimately think today are good enough to make a run, and who knows where we'll be toward the end of the season. What stood out for sure has been coaches' focus on pitching and defense, as far as preseason, as far as mindset, as far as whether they're coming back with 6 starters from last year or whether they're replacing everybody like Natchitoches Central is. The focus has been building your pitching staff, figuring out who's going to consistently throw strikes, and then just routine defense, routine defensive plays. Those are the things that coaches feel like they can control early on. The focus on hitting the long bomb or blowing people's minds offensively has been the furthest from what these coaches have talked about. Pitching and defense has been the focus.
Good deal. Blaine, wrap things up here in the Acadiana area. I know you play in a loaded district yourself as over there as a coach for New Iberia. So wrap things up for us in the Acadiana area, what you've seen so far. Also, a little preview of down the road when you do see the Barbs and Sulphurs and Sam Houstons of the world.
I'm not ready for that, man.
That's nobody is. You're okay.
Excuse me, man. That's a gauntlet within itself, and I think we start with Sam. So start Sam and Barb right off the bat once district start. So,
wow.
But some shocking stuff that I've seen in the past week. Turley's going 2-4. I know they went back to back last season, but they lost to Acadiana, Benton, Tioga, and Southside. I know they trying to get them geared ready for the playoffs, but it's just shocking to see them at 2-4 right now.
Hey, look, Coach, they dropped one tonight to Brother Martin, a 1-0 game. That's 2 powerhouse teams, so nothing to be ashamed of. That it'll help on power rankings for sure.
Yeah.
And then Turner's is going to be around late.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. They battle tested now, and that's just going to help them down the line. Another shocking thing I've seen so far was ERAT, another state finalist team from a year ago, lost game 3 to Sterlington, I believe, and they 1-4, losing to Salford, Turlington, Lafayette, and Southside. I know Coach Picard is going to have them battle tested and get ready to go.
Yeah, Coach Picard said battling a couple injuries here out the gate. So when he gets back healthy after playing a good grueling schedule out the gate, so we'll see where they fall down the road too.
Yeah, Southside, another opponent in our district. They started off the season 3-2. They lost to Cali High, New Iberia, and North Vermilion. So they a lot of these guys they're getting battle tested early. They're getting geared up for the playoffs. And I want to bring up the fact that there's a brand new school in the state of Texas, the Bennett School. They came out here to start the season. They went 4-0. They beat Barb, Sam Houston, Neville, and Opelousas Catholic. But that's no slouch. No slouch.
That's their first season, huh?
Yeah, they opened the school in the fall.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, and then I seen they have a 3-game set with a school out of Florida, so it's looking like they're taking the national route where they're gonna play all national powerhouses or stuff like that.
Okay.
Other than that, then you got your Barbs and your Sam Houston's. They both 4-1. They both losing to the Bennett School, the school we just talking about. But like I told you before we got on air, it's going to be a weird year. It's like schools that I thought was going to jump out early, like get a good lead or whatever. They're losing early games. It's competitive games, but they're losing early. And the teams that I'm thinking that's going to struggle a little bit early on, they're actually winning, pulling out games. So I'm anxious to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Good deal. Fellas, that's our wrap-up questions here, and just throw them at you. Whoever wants to jump in, feel free. Good deal?
Yep.
What does week 2 usually tell you that week 1 wouldn't?
I'll go here. What I've looked at, or what I typically look at in week 2 is, and Coach Arsenault, he'll admit this, is I think coaches try to put some players in situations to see who they are, right? Yeah. Week 1 can be a little bit of an outlier sometimes, where their kid's having a good time at the plate or a good time on the mound. What I see really good coaches do, and I'll credit Coach Abear at Sam Houston, or Jesse Cassard at Live Oak used to do this really well. I know Brady Benoit at Mandeville is really good at this. Coach Hodges at North Shore. What they do is they'll put some kids in positions just to see how it goes. And they're okay with the result one way or the other, right? But they kind of want to know what it's going to look like later on in the season. I've seen that a little bit from a Laranger so far, maybe even a Pearl River. Laranger's sitting there at 4-0 with Hayes Holm. He's a University of Texas commit. He throws 97, 98 miles an hour. Pearl River and Coach Cuvion, they got a really talented, scrappy group in that area. So I've seen a little bit of that. But what I've looked at really tonight is, what are these pitching rotations looking like, right? Because coaches want to be patient with pitch counts and ensure that you're not throwing a kid 100 pitches in week 1. Week 2, you're seeing a little bit more of that. Coaches are human too, right? We get to a point where if a kid's going to be able to throw 100 pitches, we're going to get on it now, right? We're going to get on it and go, because it's different than it was 10, 15 years ago. These kids have had fall practices. There's no break really. They're summer ball, they're fall ball. Their breaks, they're kind of ready to go. It's not nobody's on a 30, 40 pitch count, unless they're coming back from an injury or something. I look at the rotations. How long do guys stay in? When do they come out? And who are they putting in those situations?
Okay. Yeah, I think you saw that with opening day with Ash, with Doyle and Lee. They got just about the same. They got about 3 and a third inning each. It looked very specific. And you've got, that's one thing, Mike, we've talking with coaches now. High school coaches have guys on their staff that are there for analytics. That's part of their title. That's part of what they're doing. So, and that's awesome. That's, of course, that can only help. I think one thing that week 2 can bring is what happens to your program after that opening day lull. With opening day, there was no weather. So like everybody around the state got to play that wanted to, want to do game 1 on that day. But how do you settle into, when that excitement is, has gotten past, whether you won or lost, but now you kind of have to get into that grind part of your schedule
to where your process or not.
Yeah, is going to have to show.
I don't know if y'all watch LSU baseball, but York just hit another one. Go ahead, Mr. Marshall.
Yeah. So, getting into getting past opening day, that excitement, and then also like some big tournaments coming up, like the Altic up here in the 318 area. That is going to be that's kind of a whole different situation. As opening day's over, now you've got this, which is a true display of where you stand in the 318 for sure. So that'll be big for a lot of teams, is prepping for where they fit in the Altic, because how you doing that is something that everyone pays attention to.
Blaine, as someone that's been around the pitching perspective as a high school baseball coach, how long does it take before a pitching staff really finds its rhythm and they say, okay, these are the guys I'm gonna run out?
Now, I think week one, you penciling in the fall who's your 1, 2, 3, your rotation basically, and then week one, that's when you put it to the test, see who we got, and then come today, Monday, week two. Now you know exactly who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's your rotation, who's your relief. So I think that for me as a pitching coach, I think finding your pitcher rotation is big in week one.
Mike, are coaches more cautious with arms now than they have been in previous years, in your opinion?
I think it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, there's so much information out there that if you read the right thing or the wrong thing, it could lead you in a certain way. What I say is, and I tell parents this all the time, is coaches know their kids. Coaches know the players. Trust that, right? Look, there's not a coach that's going to go throw a kid 140 pitches because he's just going to try to get a win. You know, they're thinking in their mind what's going on. And there's some coaches who, if they pull a kid at 60, 65 pitches, there's a reason. But there's so many reasons behind it, right? I think as a coach, you can't be scared to trust your eyes and the data behind it, right? So when coaches are making those decisions, it's based on a lot more than just a number of pitches, right? I tell people that all the time. I mean, I cringe sometimes when I look at a box score and I see, 110 pitches and they've thrown, 48 strikes. I'm thinking at some point we're not getting anything out of the arm, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to think about that. But I think as a whole, the numbers thing, there's a lot of information out there, right? What I would tell people is trust the process of the coaches and the kid. They understand who the kid is. They understand what he's going through. They see bullpens. They know how many throws he's making. I tell people all the time, I might get blasted for this. I hate pitch counts. I hate them. And I'm going to tell you why. I think as a coach, there's other indicators that tell you when a kid is done, when he's fatigued, what's going on. And who knows? I mean, I've seen a kid go throw 40 pitches in relief and watched him throw 100 in the bullpen between 3 innings of getting up and getting down and getting ready that nobody thinks about, right? Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of, and I'll say this, I think the education around it has been a lot better and people understand now what they're looking for and how to look at. And like Coach Arsenault, the Barbs, the Sam Houstons, these big programs, they know what they're doing. They're looking at things. Kids, injuries are going to happen. It's just natural. I mean, there are 8th graders that are having injuries. It might not be from overthrowing. It could be from overthrowing. Nobody knows, right? But I do think coaches are cautious because of the potential backlash. But I think the really good coaches just trust the data and their kids and what they know.
Mr. Marshall, how do good programs balance development with winning early?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the schools that we've talked to around here have the focus has been on like their JV and freshman programs, just because at bats like that, that's the best way for a freshman or a sophomore or an 8th grader. A lot of the schools that we cover, these 3A schools, where you have you have 7th and 8th graders and sometimes 6th graders that are part of your program. They're lifting weights with you. They're going through summer procedures with you. So some of that development, they really tried, a focus heavy so much now on like kind of like Mike mentioned, like making those innings, making those reps in those JV games matter. So that if you're somebody that is maybe a right fielder on varsity, but you're still trying to figure out what kind of pitcher you are. Well, you may pitch in JV, get some at bats in JV, try to hit a double, and then in varsity, then you're in right field and you maybe get DH for. So that's how a situation like that is where a sophomore, can benefit, a team that needs to add depth. I also think winning early, the PowerPoint system is there, but go look at the brackets last year. There's no, from what I saw, there was nothing about what power rankings ended up being that told the story of the postseason. If you look at from bracket to bracket, in other words, what happened in the postseason was when the big schools, how those 3-game series went. For the small schools, is how does that one day go? So I don't know if coaches are as concerned with power rankings as much as they're concerned with trying to develop depth, especially amongst their pitching staff.
Well, and Jordan,
Mike.
I want to add to that, and Blaine, I'd love to get your input here, but the new playoff format, the changing of 3-game series all the way through, it's different now. You have to have depth and you have to have arms. You look at, even on the college level, teams that make big runs, whether it's in a conference tournament or in the College World Series or regionals, they'll run out of arms quick. I think a lot of focus is on coaches finding guys who can throw when they need to be able to do it down the road. As a coach, I'd rather take a loss in week 2, getting kids ready to be ready for that run at the end, because if you can't make the run at the end, who cared if you won on a Tuesday in week 2? It doesn't matter to me, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it anyway. But Coach, I'd love to get your input on that.
No, excuse me. I'm a big proponent of it. I like it. It shows who can coach, who can do the right situations in the brackets, stuff like that. It's like you said, have depth in your rotation. So I like it. I was always a fan of it from the beginning.
That was great.
You guys are a fan of the format now that we have got the semis at home sites also?
I'm personally, I'm iffy about it. It takes away from the Cinderella story, so to speak, from like teams that wouldn't normally make it there to Sulphur. I'd rather bring it back to Simmons to Sulphur.
Yeah, I love stuff on campus. I think it's phenomenal. However, I do think it takes away from a large group of players that can say they made it to Sulphur. Right? Yeah. That environment and that place is unique. I could be wrong saying this, but I think if a team makes it to Sulphur, more people will travel to go watch them play in Sulphur in a semifinal game than they will to a road game at a high school. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that being said, you can, a lot of these schools really have a good opportunity to make these semifinal rounds worth it. But for the same reasons, to have teams that can say they made it to Sulphur, to me, that's important.
Tell you what, I got to broadcast the South Beauregard and ERAF semifinal series last year. That place was absolutely nuts.
It was electric. It was electric.
It was electric.
ERAF, man, that's a program that just continues to just thrive.
Yeah.
Fellas, what separates experienced coaching staffs in the early weeks here?
I'll tell you my opinion on it. I could be completely wrong. I think the really good coaches are they're less motivated by the wins and losses. They're in the development phase of getting kids where they need to be, figuring out lineups, figuring out rotations, figuring out who's who still right now. And I think the good coaches do that. I think for me, it's easy to trot out my best 6 or 7 guys with a couple fringe guys with the same lineup every day because it's what I think. But I think the good coaches ensure that they are seeing what they need to see to make those good decisions. So, I'm not afraid to go get some losses in week 1 and week 2 and maybe even week 3 in a tournament to figure out who we are, so that by the time we're in the midway point, we can ensure that we're always in the best spot as a team from a player personnel standpoint.
Mike, you could have said that any better. I totally agree with that. That was spot on for me.
I think one thing, Jordan, you and I got to see this last week, where you see experience come in, is base running. When Bro Bridge, they saw it. They saw that green light to steal home, and got it. I mean, executed the play perfectly. It was the right call at the right situation. Bro Bridge had a lot of first and third situations with both where they were the base runners and where Port Barry was the base runners. You could see how a 27-year coach, someone who's been with that program for 27 seasons, 4 as the head coach, both had his base runners putting pressure on the defense, and then also having his defenders be able to defend first and third so well. That comes into play. Another thing too, and I think Mike mentioned this earlier with like the eye test with pitchers. I think an experienced coach definitely has situations where they can mix analytics, whatever you want to call, whatever that entails, with just their gut feeling when it comes to one more batter. Like, can this guy get one more batter? And I don't care if he's a righty, lefty, or who it is. Can I look at my guy, knowing what I know about him and knowing what I know about maybe his older brother or a teammate that, that reminds me of him, that helps me make this decision, and not just relying on just the numbers, but actually just relying on, something that you've experienced before.
Okay. A few more questions for you guys. What's harder for players early in the season? Is it handling pressure or staying patient?
I think staying patient. I think right out the gate they're trying to go balls to the wall right out of the gate, but they just gotta take their time, be patient, take what the pitcher's giving you, take what the team is giving you, and then go from there. Then there'll be times in the season to where you can do what you want to do, but just be patient.
Yeah, I would say patience for sure, especially on offense, because a lot of those plate appearances, you got to remember as a hitter, you're facing a pitcher that's still trying to figure things out. So you may be watching a few off the edge that that you're not used to while you're waiting for that pitcher to kind of sort out his control. So you've got to be patient as a hitter, not worry about any measurable stat about your hitting, but other than quality of bats.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a combination. I think a lot of kids, they think that filling up box scores is going to get them playing time. So they'll press a little bit to get those hits. I think coaches know what they see, right? If you've got a kid that's your best hitter and he goes 0 for 12 in the first 3 games, it's going to be okay. He's still batting in 3-hole because he's that guy, right? Coaches see that. I think the key for players, and I talk about this a lot, I think the communication piece with the coaches is what's going to help the kid the most in understanding situations and situationally what you're expecting of the kid, right? Baseball's hard. It's probably the hardest thing in the world to do is to hit a baseball. And, I think moments can be magnified both directions, right? I won't say who this was, but I know a kid years ago who was a freshman and came up with a huge hit in like the second game of a Giant game, and he never really did anything after that. But it gave the coaching staff confidence that he was that guy, right? But it never really evolved from there. So you see a lot of that. I just think the players are just trusting your coaches and trusting those opportunities. They're going to come. Take them as you can. When you get opportunities, take advantage of them. And it doesn't mean that you got to hit, right? What was your approach like at the plate? What were you looking for? Were you on time? All those things are what coaches are looking at a lot more than was it a hit or not.
We had a question from one of our guys watching at this time. Here we go. Here's for the crew. Do you like the idea of teams playing 3-game series early in the year to get used to a playoff format down the road? Or would you rather travel to a different part of the state and play different competition and teams you hardly see? That is the question for the panel at this time. Do you like the idea of teams playing 3-game series early in the year to get used to a playoff format down the road? Or would you rather travel to a different part of the state and play different competition and teams you hardly see? Mr. Marshall, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think you see some teams doing a combination of that with opening up with a quality, 2 or 3 game series early, and then following it up with a tournament. Menard opened up with they wasn't opening day for them, but their opening weekend was a 2-game series with Oak Grove. Just right off the bat, going right into their pitching rotation. I think for sure that 3-game series early, especially for those 2A schools. There's Division III, non-select and select. A 3-game series early on could be a really good idea just because it gets you in that mindset. Particularly like shaking off a game 1 loss, which a million teams have come back 0-1 and then end up winning games 2 and 3. So I do like a 3-game series like that. But also, these guys want to play these tournaments at the beginning of the year. They want to, kind of like the groundhog. They want to, poke their head up a little bit, look around, and see who else around the state is playing ball as well as, hopefully each team thinks they are.
Same question for you two.
I think it's a little bit of a combination, but I like the 3-game series early on, especially when it's teams that are expecting to be good playing teams that are known to be good. I think those are really important. Mandeville will host Sam Houston in a 3-game series. This weekend starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Coach Hebert and that crew come with what I think is the best pitching staff top to bottom in the state. It's
arguably one of them.
Yeah, they're I really like what they do in their makeup and the depth that they have outside of their 2, kind of main guys. But I think in that instance, it gives Mandeville a chance to see kind of where you stack up early and what that looks like, because you're not going to face the same guy over and over, and you're not going to face the same bullpen over and over, right? So you kind of work on situations and getting through. I know, and Coach, Arsenault, maybe you can touch on this, but I know as a coach, your approach is different against these really, really good guys versus teams with an average arm, right? We're trying to get to a guy early, or we're trying to wear him out, or we're taking pitches in certain situations for certain reasons. We're playing small ball. Are we going for gap balls and multi-base hits? So I think you get to work on a lot of different things when you're in those 3-game series that help you as a team, towards the end.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it a little bit. When you got quality arms like the Barbs and the Sam Houstons, you're hoping to get to them early and get them out of the game, because 9 times out of 10 you're not going to wear them out, because they're going to fill up the zone and throw strikes, and before you know it, it's the 6th inning and he only got a 75 pitch count.
There's a reason he's good, right?
Yeah, it's a reason he's good. So you just gotta. It's just dependent on the quality of the arm. I would say, like, those type of guys, try to get to them early and often. The mid-tier guys, just try to wear them out. They're going to get tired eventually, and then when they do, just start teeing off on them, stuff like that. But to answer the original question, no, I'm a fan of the 3-game set to get you ready for the playoffs. Hell, we just came off of one with Laurelville, with 1 Thursday, 2 Saturday. We took 2 from them, and it just, like you said, it's getting ready for the playoffs. It's because it's coming, so you might as well just get ready for it. And then, as far as tournaments, you really don't have any control of it. So whoever's hosting the tournament, they can put you whoever they want, who they want you to play with. So you just, I think everybody should just do 3-game sets, to be honest with you, in the first few weeks of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say this: I would be a huge fan of district play looking something like that as well, right? Now, some districts aren't as strong as others, so you don't want to play that many district games. But even I would love to see a standardization of district play where it's maybe 2 games, but it's back to back. It's a Friday, Saturday, or it's a Thursday, Saturday, where you kind of get to see, you're making it something that's a known thing, right? Some districts will play each other once. We had a district last year, District 9, 2A. They played a tournament, a single elimination tournament, a double elimination tournament, right? Because they didn't have enough round robin. So, I was talking to a girls basketball coach the other day. We're talking about district champions and how it's determined, and they have their own bylaws in each district. I would love to see some kind of standardization amongst, what is done and how it's done from a fan standpoint, from everybody understanding what's going on and how to follow it.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we're one of only 2 districts left that plays each other twice. Everybody is once, or everybody has a district tournament. So yeah, so that's a lot of games. I don't know if I'm a fan of doing that in district.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there.
9 teams, that's a lot. We lose.
Yeah, and the way it works.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, with every sport, like what works perfectly for one district is just not ideal for the next. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. But yeah.
Talk about our district. We got Carencro this year, so next year we drop Carencro and we add STM. Talk about a juggernaut, right?
Moving along with the show, guys, I'm going to start with Mr. Marshall. Give me some teams to keep on everyone's radar moving forward.
I mean, I think for sure from my area, Buckeye, I mean, 20 wins last year. Marty DeWeese is in his first year as the head coach of the Panthers, but they are waiting on a lot of their basketball players to wrap up basketball. They've got a great basketball team this year, so they'll be somewhere in that postseason bracket. They had an all-state first-team pitcher graduate last year, so it'll look a little different for them just as far as what their staff leans on. But I would look for Buckeye for sure. I mentioned Menard earlier. They are loaded offense, defense, and pitching. They've got enough starters. They've got enough bats, and they've got enough defensive versatility, I think, to contend in D3 Select. Got a great coach, Jordan Marks. Mentioned Ash earlier. That's another. I think he has 11 seniors at least. So he'll have upperclassmen that are looking for ways to get into the game. Hicks will be right back. Hicks is another school that is waiting on some basketball players. That's a Class B school, and they're doing really well in basketball as well with a lot of the same students. I mentioned Grace. They're 3-0. They have a pitcher. And I know, Blaine, that you've talked about this guy, Logan Markle, left-hander, sophomore.
We saw him his freshman year.
A 5-tool player as a 10th grader.
We saw him his 8th grade year, and the kid was electric. It just so happens, like we talked about earlier, we just waited him out, and then we started hitting the ball all over the yard.
He was injured last year. Had a hand injury, so it limited his pitching, but was very effective as a first baseman and batter. So he'll be a factor as well. Pitkin is right back, and Blaine, you've talked with Coach Holt over at Pitkin as well. I really would like to see what Natchitoches Central can do with their first year head coach. Pineville and Tioga are always strong in the Alexandria Pineville area. Tioga's off to a really good start. Pineville had their home opener tonight. A lot of teams that are kind of still waiting to come into form once their basketball players are done. But I think that some of the strong teams from Sinlaw last year are going to be right back there again.
Blaine, let's go to you. Give me some teams to keep on everyone's radar moving forward.
I guess I'll be biased here. I'll say New Iberia. Man, we have 13 seniors. They've been playing together for the last 3. They've been playing together since they was 9 years old. But varsity wise, they've been playing together for 3 years, starting since freshman sophomore year, and we have the deepest pitching staff we had in a very long time. But Erad, I know we talked about them earlier. They got a slow start, but Picard wait for his guys to be back healthy. I think they're gonna make a run. They're gonna win district later on in the year. Turlins is Turlins. They probably up front loaded their schedule so they can be competitive, which everybody's doing. I think they'll be okay. Barb St. Houston, they're them. So it's a bunch of schools that I'm waiting to see just after this week to see what they're gonna do.
How about we get LCA and St. Thomas More this week?
Yeah, I just saw it. No, they played tonight. I just saw
tonight?
it.
We have a score update on it. They're playing at McNeese tonight.
Yeah, they STM won 11-1, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Cougars are always strong.
11-1, and they lost the season opener to the South Side, and they strung along a few quality wins, so they're going to be tough as well this year. It's
gonna be a strong Lafayette area this year, for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Mike, give me some teams that is going to be on everybody's radar moving forward.
Well, you've got your standard Baton Rouge area. Catholic High is going to do Catholic High things, so the University of Catholic is going to be okay. They've got a kid who came from Live Oak last year, Dakota Jones, who I think very highly of. He's extremely talented. Parkview Baptist is another one that's got some depth and a lot of arms. Those guys, Coach Hawk in that group. In the river parishes, I think Destrehan and Hanville, I think that's going to be a phenomenal matchup when those teams play. Coach Meir at Destrehan, he's got some depth and some really talented kids. Hanville's got Cole Romero as an LSU commit. He had a great opening day on the mound, and he'll probably hit 10, 12 home runs this year, which is absurd to think about saying that out loud, but it'll likely happen. And in the Catholic League, Brother Martin and Jesuit, I think they're kind of the leaders there. John Curtis, they've got some depth and can really make a run. And then moving to the North Shore, I think North Shore High School, they've been there. They've got the horses to do it. I think they're more talented than they were last year, which is kind of scary to say that because they were really good last year. I think Mandeville's got a chance. Laranja, anytime you have a pitcher like a Hayes Holton who's committed to Texas, you're going to have a shot. Big shout out to Tanner Mathern tonight. I just got that in. He threw a no-hitter against Ponchatoula, so that's another pitcher for them, right? There's a lot of talent there. I think you'll see here in the next 2 to 3 weeks things start to shake through a little bit and start to see who's going to be who. And I'll say this: I think there's always going to be teams with good pitching. When I look at Sulphur and who is going to be in Sulphur, I look less at pitching staff. I look at the size and the ability for extra base hits. And every time a team wins a state championship, maybe not every time, there's outliers. They're big, and they have the ability to put crooked numbers up because they can hit for power. It's really hard to make deep runs against really good pitching staffs hitting singles. It's so difficult because you have to be so good on the mound and so good defensively. But, those teams that can go hit a 2-3 run, double home run, it changes the narrative. It changes the game.
Hey, how's Lakeshore on that end?
Lakeshore's good. They lost a really good player last year, Usama Delgado. They've got some depth on the pitching side. They've got to find some bats. They've got a tremendous catcher, a left-handed. Well, I say left-handed. He's a switch hitter, but he bats from the left side a lot. Grant Bouillon, who's really good. They've got some depth on the mound. The Galliano kid can throw it. Trish is coming along. Their problem is going to be, I don't know. They're going to have to find a way to score runs. Now they beat Slidell tonight, 8-7. JJ Velthouse with a walk-off single in the bottom of the 7th. But that district coach, Laranja, Pearl River, Hannon, it's Franklinton and Lakeshore. That's Slidell's in 7-5A, but that's a loaded district with a lot of really talented kids and a lot of really talented coaches.
Jordan, you saw a comment there about Sterlington. Yeah, that's a team that returns some unbelievable talent. Miller Sheets, who I believe is being recruited by Baylor.
Is he in his ninth year there?
He's committed at Baylor. He committed. I think
he's already off to a strong start. And his I'm sure this season is the same, but I know in the past his dad was part of their coaching staff. Not that I'm back there again there this year. Devin Downs, who was a big part of their football state championship run. He's being recruited at the top of college baseball as well. He's back in the outfield. Brady Belonger, Landon Johnson. They've got some guys that you're familiar with from that team last year that are already off to strong starts this year. Without looking, my assumption is that they're in the Trialtic tournament. So you'll get a good chance. They hosted up here, pretty soon. But yeah, they're going to be just as strong as they have been.
Yeah, they're hosting a site over there. So yeah,
that's not surprising. Yeah.
Good time to go talk about the state champions from a year ago. See where they're at out the gate. Let's start with Class C. What do you know about? I might mess up this name, but the state champions from a year ago, Ebar.
Yep.
So far, I'm thinking they're a basketball school also, waiting on some guys. They're 0-2 out the gate. They get Stanley tomorrow. What do we know about the defending state champs in Class C?
Yeah, they're part of that great Sabine Parish athletic community. It's probably 8, 9, 10 schools in Sabine Parish. Manny's the only one that plays football. The rest of them all of them are all fierce rivals, especially in basketball. Ebarb actually graduated Greg Prosell, who's the all-time leading national high school scorer. Was at Northwestern State for a little bit. Look up Greg Prosell. He's a fishing guide at Toledo Bend now. But yeah, they I believe that they did graduate a good piece of their team last year, and a lot of them are still playing basketball. They typically have a good basketball team. That was they weren't necessarily the favorite in Class C last year, so that was a playoff type run by the Rebels. But with Claiborne Christian is going to be strong again in Class C coming back this year, so it'll take another run like what Ebarb did last year. But yeah, we'll see what they're made of once basketball winds up.
Okay. Anybody else want to touch on that, or are we good to go?
I'm looking at their schedule. They're 0-2 right now, but I'm sure once basketball cranks up, they'll be ready to go. They lost to Quitman and Manning. I don't know too much about that, but I'm sure.
Yeah, Quitman won state a couple years ago, so that's that's a quality program, and Manning plays good baseball as well.
Yeah, so I'm sure once they get their basketball guys back, they'll be ready to go.
But yeah, that's a school full of competitors. They'll play anybody, anywhere, any sport. So yeah, good tradition of athletes out there.
And as for Sterlington, they're actually going into a 3-game series this weekend with Houghton.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, and Houghton's got some good pitchers as well. Yeah.
Let's go to Class B. You talked about them a little bit earlier in the show. Picking baseball tradition there. They got a big game Thursday against Lutcher. That should be a great early test. Not sure if they're waiting on basketball guys or not.
They are. They have a few, but Coach, I know you talked to Coach Holt earlier in the year. They do have some basketball players that they're waiting on, but I know that he spoke with you about them being strong again this year.
Yeah, he said he's really excited about this year. They won state, I think, the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're
or 4 out of the 5 years or something like that. He was telling me. For a B school, he got 33 kids on the roster. That's insane to me. And 33 kids, the school probably holds 65. Yeah. So he said he's excited. He can't wait till his team is full back together so they can try to make another run.
Okay. Division 4 select. Your state champions a year ago was Vermilion Catholic. 2-0 so far. I think same situation we're going to keep running into. waiting on guys. I think we're in the same situation there. Big test Thursday, though. North Vermilion is on the docket for the Screaming Eagles. What do we know about the Screaming Eagles? Screaming Eagles. I know they had a stud on the mound a year ago. That he's back. That's all I really know. They graduated a good senior core. Blaine, you got any more information for us?
Yeah. I talked to Coach Harrington too. During the Christmas break and stuff like that, and he was really high on Cole Albert. He's a 29. He's the number one recruit in the 29 class. You also said that they lost a lot. They lost Dartez. I think that's his last name, the quarterback from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lost him and they lost a few other guys, but he said they're going to be scrappy. They're going to be good.
Okay. Mr. Braden says he thinks this division is one of the hardest to predict. Division 4 select.
Oh yeah, loaded with baseball factories for sure.
The state champs of a year ago in Division 3 select was Catholic and New Iberia. They're off to a strong start. They're 4-0. They get Notre Dame tomorrow. They get the Pios. Also, the only 2A that was ranked in the top 25 in the Prep Baseball Report. So Catholic New Iberia, what do we know? Strong out the gates. Might be a recipe to repeat again.
Yeah, they lost two big arms in Lane Fiske and JD Hidalgo. Lane I think is the Friday night starter for LSUE this year as a freshman, and Hidalgo at Southwest Mississippi Community College. We scrimmaged Cali High last week, and it was a 1-0 ball game. They beat us. We walked in a run at the top of the first, and it's just been a defensive battle all the way through with good pitching. But they're going to be primed and ready to go. They 4-0, 5-0 right now. They hot right now, so I expect them to keep going throughout the year until they play us eventually.
Thoughts on Catholic New Iberia cracking the top 25 as the only 2A team?
Look,
not surprising.
Depth. That's the key when you're in that in that class, when you can be that good. You just got to have a lot of guys, and they've got it.
Yep.
Division 2 select state champs, Turlings Catholic, 2-4 out the gate, but they're going to be right there in the mix at the end of it. They get Berwick tomorrow after dropping one against Brother Martin tonight. Look for Turlings to turn it on real soon, right, Marshall?
Yeah, I mean, I know that that was another school that was, that had that preseason rank, that top 25 amongst all classifications. They've played a ton of games already. I think they played 6 in week 1. Yeah, so I mean, I think that might be the most on the stat. I think they got 4 games in during that opening week tournament for them. So that's probably the most in the state for sure.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, your thoughts, Mr. Mike?
Who is this now we're talking about?
Turlings Catholic.
Well, look, I'm not worried at all about what their record looks like through the first month. They've got a ton of talent, a ton of talented kids, and a great coach. They're going to be in the thick of it. You can look at the last 2 weekends of the season. I promise you, you'll see their name in a bracket.
There you go. Division 1.
I was going to say it's going to come down to them or STM to win that district anyway. So they're going to be in the thick of it once postseason comes around.
Some great battles awaits there. Division 1 select Catholic of Baton Rouge, 3-0. Man, what can you say about that program?
Like Mike said earlier, that's Catholic University.
They replace kids like no other. If you look at what they lost just last season, and the season before that, they might be deeper this year. They might not have the top end talent, but their depth is absurd. Coach Bass is, he's a wizard, man. He what he gets out of those kids in that program, he does it right. Coach Nakan, who was their pitching coach, is not there anymore. But those guys have done a phenomenal job over the last few years. I say few years, it's been longer than that, but it's a factory. Some guys just have it, and Coach Bass is one of those guys. He's got a great pool of kids, to choose from, and I'll say this: sometimes that's harder than coaching a team that's not as talented, right? You've got a lot of kids that can play in a lot of places that there's not enough spots on the field for it. So you've got to really, really understand what you're doing and how you do it and how you manage that process. But look, I'd rather have the better Jimmys and Joes anyway.
They're going to have a doubleheader starting tomorrow with Dunham. So that's what's next for state champs.
That's another good matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Division 4 non-select state champs, Oak Grove. What are they going for? What, a 4-peat maybe? 5-peat?
I think
this
it's
year,
6 if
Marshall?
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is 6 if I remember.
They're going for 6?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. I know they graduated that senior class that was phenomenal.
Yeah, Tanner Duff
have,
and that crew, Jackson Bradley. Yeah.
Do they have something this year to back it up to try to go get 6?
Well, I believe they split with Menard, if I'm not mistaken, and the way that they kind of reload what they're doing in baseball is similar to what they do with football. Yeah, you mentioned like Jackson Bradley and Tanner Duff and some other names that I'm forgetting that graduated last year, but judging by the schedule that they've got and that early series with Menard, they're right back being a contender.
We get to see the team they played in the finals on Friday night. So we get to see the Greyhounds of Welsh. That's who Oak Grove beat in the finals last year. So excited to see that. How about that Division 3 non-select state champion, Sterlington, 4-0 out the gate. Talked about a couple guys. Big series this weekend. Another Sterlington team that looks like they can go win it all again.
Every day is a sunny day in Sterlington.
Marshall, that's another great classic story of Jimmy's and Joe's right there. They've got some guys that are just different cats, when
yep.
in
a very competitive Ouachita parish.
Yes, and I love recruiting. I'm very passionate about it. We try to get as many kids looks as we can. I tell people, in one of my great mentors, he says this a lot, and I've leaned on it, which is comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to some of those Sterlington kids. That's those are unicorns. Some parents somewhere are saying, well, when my little Johnny was 11, he was better than him. He's not anymore. I promise you that. Those guys are different.
Mr. Mike, let's stay with you here. Your Division 2 non-select state champions out to a 3-1 start. They get St. John tomorrow. It's the Bruley.
Look, that's another one that is interesting because they lost some key components from last year's squad, and I'll be interested to see kind of what that rotation looks like and if the offense can produce, to stay where they are. But once again, it's another really talented group of kids with a great coaching staff. It's more than just their head coach. They've got a really good crew over there. So, it's in other words, like, I feel like you could fast forward a couple months and know who you're going to talk about here, and they're one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, the Division 1 non-select state champions from a year ago was Sam Houston, out to a 4-1 start. They get Edie White tomorrow, state runner-up in their classification. Your thoughts on the Broncos? If they're going to go back-to-back, it's going to have to go through the gauntlet to get there.
Yeah, just to what Mike said, you can fast forward and you know who to talk about. Sam Houston is one of those schools where you can fast forward, you know who to talk about. They don't. What's that old saying? They don't. I don't know. I lost track of thought, but they're gonna be good. They're gonna be good. They don't reload.
It's gonna be some fun to see that Division 1 select bracket whenever it does come out in a couple months.
They're gonna be good for sure. That's one of the teams that you can just roll the ball out and they're just top to bottom better than you. Chad don't really have to do anything. Just roll it out. Let the kids play. And they got a class. They got
That's been the
freshman class.
overarching theme too. It's like so much optimism right now. Like I'm looking at all these teams, like man, everybody's winning state. Like these teams are loaded. That's the beauty of opening day.
They're slowly becoming how everybody used to talk about Barb. They're slowly becoming talking about Sam Houston now. And Barb is starting. I don't want to say Barb is starting to be an afterthought, but Sam Houston is starting to jump Barb in everyone's conversation.
I was happy to see them get over the hump for sure.
So sorry I lost you guys. I'm actually out of the country right now, and the internet after a while they kick you off and you have to get back on. So it's not equal to same. And look, I was going to say this. You know, they got that game with Edie White coming up. Caden Amy from Pope John Paul, he's a UNO commit. He threw a great game tonight. They just beat Edie White. I think it was 2-1. Edie White's a really interesting team. Barbera, if you've known that kid, he's been their quarterback and one of their best players on the team. It was him on the mound against Amy tonight in a fantastic matchup. I'll actually go back and watch that probably here later.
Okay. Real quick, let's promote the tournaments that are coming up this weekend. I know they got the big one in Monroe. I know they got the Beauchamp tournament here locally. Any other ones that we should promote tonight? We'll start with Marshall. What's going on from your area?
The Billy Allgood Classic of Wolves Charter in Mansura and of Wolves Parish, Louisiana. They won back-to-back in 23 and 24. The Billy Allgood Classic is this weekend. Was the legendary coach at Louisiana College. The field there at LC is named for him. He kind of helped build that baseball program at Wolves Charter once they started up. Their head coach, Stu Regar, has been there 18 seasons, got those 2 state titles, and they get to show off their really nice facility this weekend at the Billy Allgood Classic in Wolves Parish.
Got it. Mr. Mike, any tournaments that we need to know about from your area going on this weekend?
No, sir, not this weekend. We got a bunch of really good action. We've got some 3-game series and a lot of really talented teams playing really talented teams.
When you look at the 3-game series, what's one of them that really catches your attention that people might want to get to the ballpark and go watch this one?
Well, you know, Mandeville beat North Shore tonight. Like I said, the Southeastern commit Sam Mars had a great game on the mound. Jacob Neely threw for North Shore, who's a centenary commit. Connor Smith threw for North Shore, who's a Jones College commit. Mandeville won that game 4-0. That tells me a lot, and they hit the ball well, which has been Mandeville's kind of Achilles the last few years. So Sam Houston coming into town, you're going to get to see if your bats are what you want them to be yet, right? Because you're going to face some good pitching. But, you know, every time I've seen Sam Houston come to our area, they hit the ball. You know, they hit the ball hard. So it'll be interesting to see what it is. But I think that's a big matchup. You know, I don't think – I say regardless of how the series goes is not indicative to either team's season. I just think at this point, you know, early in the year, just go out and watch some good baseball.
There you go. Big series there. You're going to be back in town, or you're not going to be able to catch any baseball this week?
I am going to be back in town, and I'm very excited to be back in town.
There you go. Blaine, I know we got the Beauchamp tournament here locally. Anything else going on around the state that you know of tournament-wise we can promote tonight?
No. I know about the Trialtic. We're in the Beauchamp tournament. I'm not sure. I think Eunice might know. Eunice is out there. So no, I don't think any other times.
Okay.
Another
go ahead.
The 3-game series in Alexandria. They call it the subdivision series between Ash and Menard. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're all going to be on 446 Sports. You'll be able to watch them live and on demand. You're going to see some really good pitching, some really good offense, defense. That's 2 really good baseball teams that will go at it this weekend.
A lot of great baseball. Hopefully the weather stays intact so we can get out to a ball field, see these young men put on between the lines. Let's close things out here this evening. Let's get your 2026 outlook, Mr. Mike. What do you want to see this year?
What I would say is I'm so impressed with the level of coaches in our area. You know, from the South Shore to the North Shore, there's some guys that run, and I mean this, college type level programs, from top to bottom. So I look for just continued growth and depth of programs. I love it. Cinderella stories are great, but I love when really great teams are great because that's hard to do as well. Um, I think there's going to be some kids that really flash on the screen this year. I think last year on the North Shore, on our commitment list, and we weren't covering as many teams. I think we had 54 kids that signed to play at the next level just on the North Shore. I look at that number increasing this year, and I think that just speaks to the level of baseball that we have. There's a large number of Division I commits, which everybody knows how the recruiting piece goes now. That's probably harder than it ever has been, which tells you about the level of competition as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I think there's some teams that are going to make some runs, and I think there's some phenomenal district matchups. That 7-4A district, 7-5A and 6-5A, 9-2A, French Settlement, Pope John Paul, St. Thomas Aquinas, North Lake Christian, all really good teams that could really make runs. So, it'll be an exciting season for sure.
Blaine, we go to you, my friend. 2026 outlook. I know you got the coaching hat on right now, but as you take the hat off and you think to yourself as the Full Count Baseball podcast, what do you want to see this year, 2026 outlook?
Oh man, just some good competitive games. I don't know if I can take the coach's hat off, man. It's just I want to see our guys at the dog pile at the end of the year, and I know we got a tough stretch in that district to do it, but I like our chance against anybody. But I just want to see some competitive games, probably see some new faces that's making runs in the postseason.
Marshall, your 2026 outlook, you're going to be a lot of places throughout the state of Louisiana. Give me your outlook here. What do you want to see?
So, yeah, my outlook is statewide. And real quick, shout out Mr. Chuck Perkins. He said hello. Great guy. He runs TSPN there for Tioga's athletic program.
I didn't know y'all could see the comments on the screen.
They've been great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
They're top 10 in basketball. And Coach Colton Knuckles, Blaine, you talked to him earlier, their baseball team. They've already won some. I think they beat Turlings already. So, Indians are rolling on all their boys sports this year. Mr. Chuck does a great job. So my outlook statewide, and we talked about this, or I know Mike and Jordan, I've talked to both of y'all about this. These teams that are making it happen in football and baseball, like Sterlington, Erath, North DeSoto, Oak Grove, Central Baton Rouge, teams that are just like at the top in both football and baseball. I'm curious to.
Uh-oh.
Marshall went out of the country on us.
Also, I know.
Oh, there you go.
So 3A, that's going to be a great district with Gina, Bunkie, Marksville, and some good games there. But these schools that are waiting on some of their basketball players and power lifters to get done, I'm looking forward to see how that shakes out.
And I'll say this. I'll touch on what Marshall said. Getting to cover a lot of schools and all sports that we do at North Shore Prep Report. Schools that do it well typically do it well across the board. You can tell the schools that put an emphasis on athletics. The environments are different. They're competitive consistently. They have better facilities.
The total experience.
You see it in the totality of it. There's a reason that you see a lot of these schools in a lot of different sports in these title things. It takes a lot. And I'll say this, I love principals who are former players, who understand that experience and what that means. I think that helps coaches a lot. I think it helps the kids, and it transfers to the community, and it goes a long way. But we've got a lot of that on the North Shore, and we're blessed to have a great group of people. That's for sure.
Mr. Mike, we'll stay with you, my man. Let everyone know where they can find you, where they can find your work, and what's the outlook look like the rest of the week for you. I know you talked about the big series, but what happens from now? I know you got basketball going on, you got soccer going on, you got baseball, softball. You're in the heat of things. So What's the rest of the week look like for you, and where can people find your work?
Well, look, you can find us on the internet at northshoreprepreport.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a YouTube channel as well. We'll be starting our weekly show this Sunday from Game Day Cuts with former Handon coach Chris Garrett. He led that team to the semifinals last year, so he'll be our co-host for the rest of the season. Excited about that. The week is outrageous. We've got soccer scores coming in right now. Girls basketball brackets came out today. Slidell girls and Salmon girls, two extremely talented teams. French Settlement's another one with a really good team. Springfield, Albany. I could go on and on about some teams that can really make some runs. Boys basketball, big district matchups this week. Big rivalry, Slidell and North Shore. North Shore beat Slidell earlier in the season. That'll be a good one. Mandeville and Covington will play for the district championship this week at Covington. Coach Ron Rushing's first year there, so that's another big one. And we've got baseball. And then look, I can't not mention it on Wednesday. We've got softball kicking off. So it's outrageous right now for us. So the gauntlet is real, but I'm really lucky to have some help. We've got a great internship program we started last month, and we'll bring some students on to help us as well. So looking forward to the continued growth, and we appreciate all the help and support.
Yes, sir. Mr. Blaine, let everyone know what's the rest of the week look like for you guys. I know we're looking for a Pillsbury win Thursday over the New Iberia Senior High.
No.
What's the rest of the week look like for you, and where can people find your work yourself?
They can find me on Facebook and YouTube at Full Count Baseball Podcast. Like I said earlier in the show, we just trying to get trying to shine the spotlight on the coaches around the state and their programs. Hell, Marshall and Mike, I'd love to get y'all on. We talk shop for a few minutes, stuff like that, to see what y'all doing in y'all area. Absolutely. But for the rest of the week, we play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. So we have Westgate Wednesday, Portbury Thursday, and then we got a doubleheader at the Beauchamp tournament against Plaquemine and LRCA. So that's our week this week.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, will close things down with you, and you coming from a game tonight, so I know things are still heating up for yourself also.
Yeah, be pulling double duty tomorrow. 446 Sports will be broadcasting the Ash and Pineville basketball game at senior night at Ash. So we'll be doing that. But before that, Natchitoches Central's baseball team will be at Ash for a 5A battle between the Chiefs and the Trojans. So I'll be there as well. 446 will have that game as well. I'll be there covering that game, talking to both coaches pregame. And then we've got I mentioned the subdivision series, Menard and Ash, 3-game series Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That takes place on 446 Sports as well. So catch me on the Red River Roundup on all your social media channels. We're part of the 446 Sports Network. And I'm working on boys basketball and baseball at the same time right now. So it's crossover season, and I'm having a
There you go. Friday night, we will have Welsh and Kinder live on our platform. That is Under the Lights, Facebook or YouTube. Fellas, thank y'all for coming on, talking a little baseball with us. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about moving forward. So thank you for taking some time out of your evening. I know y'all, all three of y'all have busy schedules, so it was great to talk shop with y'all tonight.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Final words, man. I'm so damn sick of these gray skies. I'm ready for some blue skies and get outside down first base line and hear the ping of the bat again.
Final words, Blaine.
Oh man, thanks again for doing this. I know you said it was my idea, but hell, you did a great job about doing it tonight. Just ready for an eventful season, man. That's all.
Final words, Mr. Mike.
I'll use this platform to say something I bang the table on all the time. All students should get into high school games for free.
There you go.
That's what we do. We do that at Nish. So all our students get in free.
I love it. I love it. I hope that just becomes a statewide thing, because I just think the experience for students and cheering on other students shouldn't have to be paid for.
Mike for
There you
president.
go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks everyone for tuning in this evening. For Mr. Blaine Arsenault with Full Count Baseball Podcast, Mr. Mike McMillan with North Shore Prep Report, Mr. Marshall Leffler with 446 Sports and the Red River Roundup. My name's Jordan Taylor with Under the Lights. Thanks everyone again for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless high school baseball.